What's going on, everyone? Bendy Bono here to talk to you about question 49 of the Summa, which is the final question in our treatise on creation. Bit of a cold tonight, so if I sound a bit stuffed up, that's why. But thankfully, at least for my sake, I don't have a very long question to get through here, just 3 articles on the cause of evil. So this one's kind of paired with the last one that we looked at. The distinction of things in particular was the title of question 48, but if you remember in there, that was a lot, mostly about the nature of evil and stuff like that. So, whoops. There's Windows telling me to turn on the Windows firewall. That's a bad idea. Don't do it. Slows everything down. Anyway, 3 articles here, so let's dive right in. Whether good can be the cause of evil. That's number 1. Whoops, I didn't collapse any of these. Okay. So, 4 objections here. Well, number 1, Matthew 7:18. That's the verse on how no good tree can produce bad fruit or evil fruit. One contrary cannot be a cause of another. Good and evil are contraries. A deficient effect can only proceed from a deficient cause. Evil is a deficient effect, and good is not a deficient cause. And Dionysius says evil doesn't have a cause. So there you go. But Augustine tells us that the only possible source of evil is good. So how does this work? Well, every evil has a cause, since every evil is the absence of good, which can only result from something drawing a thing out of its proper disposition. So, if evil is something drawn out of what it ought to be, that has to be caused in that thing by something, and it can't be evil. So since evil has no form, it is not a direct cause of an agent, but is brought about accidentally. So in other words, evil is not a formal thing, it's something that's brought about by accident, and he uses the example of fire to demonstrate this. So fire is a good thing, it provides heat, warmth, all that good stuff, but through its accidents, the accidents that are caused by it, fire could produce evil. For example, if it leaps out of the fireplace and into your house at large, right? Or there could be an evil, a deficient. Remember, as we talked about last time, we're using the term evil very broadly here, not just to mean immoral, immorality or anything like that. And if you're curious about that distinction, go back and watch the last video. We talked about that some there. Or a fire could be evil, could be deficient in the sense of not being a good fire, not providing warmth, not providing heat, all that good stuff. And that would be from a deficiency, maybe in the cause of trying to start the fire, if you're like me and you just suck at starting fires, or maybe a deficiency in the wood, it's wet. Any number of things like that. Okay? Then our objections answered. Number 1, a good will does not produce an immoral act. However, an evil will can belong to a rational creature, which is a good thing. So even though something evil proceeds from that evil will at its base, that evil will belongs to a rational creature, and a rational creature is a good thing. So ultimately, evil is proceeding from something that is good. It couldn't proceed from something that was totally evil, because a being in and of itself is a good thing. To have existence is a good. And if you didn't have existence, then it would follow that the evil will that's tied to that rational creature also wouldn't exist. Right? Okay, number 2, good does not cause the evil contrary to itself, but another evil of which it is not the contrary. Spent a lot of time on that distinction in question 48. Again, if you missed that, go back there. Aquinas explains that distinction a great deal, and we talk about it a lot in that video. Oh, sorry about all these little pop-ups down here. I just restarted my computer, so it's kind of going through all of the firewall's turned off, you need to update this thing. So hopefully that'll be the last one. Anyway, number 3 here, evil's deficient cause is not in natural things but in voluntary things. Evil never follows unless from some pre-existing evil. Notice that it's not caused by the pre-existing evil, but it follows from the pre-existing evil. Going back to this example up here, It's caused by the rational creature, which is a good thing, but it follows from that rational creature having an evil will. Okay? And then number 4, evil's cause is not direct but only accidental, and that's what Dionysius means, according to Aquinas. Number 2, whether the supreme good, God, is the cause of evil. Okay? Well, Isaiah 45, 5-7, Amos 3:6 both talk about God creating evil. As shown in the previous article, good is the cause of evil, right? That's what we just saw. God is the cause of every good, therefore God is the cause of evil. And Aristotle says, and I don't know the reference here entirely, but the cause of a ship's safety and danger is the same. God is the cause of everything's safety, therefore he is also the cause of its evil. But Augustine says God is not the author of evil, since he does not cause things to tend toward not being, which is what evil is. Okay. Previous article showed that evil must proceed from where there is already evil. In God there is no defect. So going back to our example, the good rational creature with an evil will, that's not God. There's nothing evil in him from which evil could proceed. Okay? So in God there is only perfection. However, God may be the author of the evil of penalty, but not the evil of fault, so far as that evil is necessary for the order of the universe. Again, go back to question 48 for that distinction on the evil of penalty versus the evil of fault. Aquinas explains that, and that goes into what I was saying a minute ago about how his use of evil doesn't apply just to all immoral evil, but to any type of deficiency. Okay? He's using the term very broadly. And it's very important that we understand that so we don't think he's saying something that he's not. Okay? So objections answered. These passages in Isaiah and Amos refer to the evil of penalty, not the evil of fault. Right? Number 2, the effect of a deficient secondary cause is not reduced to the first cause regarding its fault, but only regarding its perfections. And the sinking of a ship is due to a fault in the sailor. And I guess that's what Aristotle means in that example. In God, this does not apply since he has no fault. And finally, whether there is one supreme cause of every evil. So we're talking about dualism. So is there, if God is cause of all good, is there another being, kind of on the same level as God who causes all evil, right? Is there a dark side of the force? Anyway, all right, so 6 objections here, but a lot of them are kind of getting at the same thing, so we'll move through them very quickly. Contrary effects have contrary causes. For contraries have contrary principles, one good and one evil. As God is the cause of all good, there must be a supreme being who is the cause of all evil. Good and better things are judged against what is best, evil and worse. Everything participated is reduced to what is essential. Evil in us is by participation. Therefore, there must be a supreme and essential evil in which we participate. What is accidental is reduced to what is per se, which is pretty much saying the same type of thing as participation by accident versus participation essentially. A supreme evil, therefore there must be a supreme evil which is per se the cause of all accidental evils. And evil proceeds only from where evil already exists, as we saw above. We cannot let this proceed to infinity, the cause of evil. But, as has been previously shown, the supreme good is the cause of every being. So how does this work? Well, first we're going to go back to he's going to go back to what he's already said. So within the actual article, if you want to go ahead and read this, he cites all the, or not him probably, but editors who compile the Summa, cite all the different questions he's referring to that, based on what we've already said in the Summa, we can rule out the idea of there being a supreme evil. How do we do that? Well, we can do that in 3 ways. Number 1, the first principle of good is essentially good. Nothing can be essentially bad, since every being considered as a being is good. It has good as its subject. In other words, for something to be essentially evil would be a contradiction in terms, because that being itself is a good. Okay? So if something was essentially evil, it wouldn't exist because it wouldn't have being. Evil lessens good, but never wholly consumes it. Therefore, nothing can be wholly evil. And number 3, the nature of evil is against the idea of a first principle, since evil is caused by good and is only caused accidentally. Were two contrary first principles to exist, they would not be the true first principle, since they would have things in common that could be further reduced. Therefore, it would be necessary to search for another first principle beyond them. Read Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis uses that exact argument to rule out the existence of a dualistic reality. And finally, our objections here to this last article. Contraries agree in genus and therefore have a common cause which is above them. Since evil is privation, it can only be opposed to a good with potentiality, but not to a supreme being, which would be pure act. Things are better or worse not by their relation to a supreme being, but by their conformity to their nature. No being is evil by participation, but by privation of participation, a very important distinction there. Evil cannot have a per se cause, since it is only caused accidentally. And finally, the cause of evil does not proceed to infinity, but is reduced to a good cause from which all evil follows accidentally. That can be a little mind-bending, but if you've ever read the Summa by Tolkien, he kind of has a good example of that, where his Satan character, if you will, Melkor, and all of at the beginning of the kind of the creation myth that he gives to Middle Earth, in the Silmarillion, you have, all of the Ainur, these kind of angelic beings created by God. It's obviously more complicated in Tolkien terms, but to translate it, they're created by God, and they are singing in harmony with God's song. And this creature Melkor decides to sing his own song, not out of a desire to do evil, but out of a desire to make this new type of beauty, which it isn't time for yet. It's not the proper context or place or time for it. And so it's a desire to do good. The cause of it is good, but it accidentally produces evil because it doesn't conform to the will of God in the narrative. So evil is, within Tolkien's mythos, created accidentally at that moment, but it doesn't proceed. And, as far as how that would actually work within Christian thought, obviously there's very multiple theories on the devil and what caused the devil and the nature of evil and everything, and Aquinas doesn't get into any of that there, but that would be an example of how you could answer that type of problem and kind of get at, in practical terms, what he's talking about. All right, so that's it. Next time, we start a new treatise on the angels. I already did the introduction for this one when I did the introduction to the treatise on creation. I also, at that same video, since these three are fairly short, did the introduction to the treatise on the angels and the treatise on the work of the 6 days. YouTube archives, that would be right before question 44. So, that's it for the treatise on creation. We made it through another one. 4 treatises down, and, at least in the Prima part of the Summa, 4 to go. Well, we're about halfway, a little less. All right then. So, that's it for now. I'm Benny Bono, and I'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.